There comes a point in life when comfort stops feeling like peace and starts feeling like a cage. And that's a hard truth to realize, because a lot of us think comfort is protecting us. We think staying where things are predictable is keeping us safe. But sometimes the very place that feels familiar is the very place that's quietly keeping us stuck. So today I want to talk about that, because I saw a post on LinkedIn that said, your comfort zone is costing you your future. You know what? No other words are truer. Because when you're trying to step into a new season, when you're applying for jobs overseas, building something new, showing up online, and stretching beyond what feels easy, that message lands home. So stay with me. Hey y'all, I'm Vanessa and welcome to Ways of Change, where I document my journey of reinvention, faith, growth, and a whole new way of living. Today is day 81 of 100, posting every day. Today was a full day. I applied for an administrative officer position in Capodichino, Italy, with the Department of the Navy. I completed my engagement hour. I posted about Women's History Month, which felt especially meaningful because there's something powerful about honoring women who made bold moves, used their voices, broke barriers, and refused to stay boxed in by what was expected of them. And I also got an update from Ramstein, Germany. I received a notice that said, you are not considered because you do not meet the area of consideration requirements as specified in the announcement. Really? Now, when I saw that, I knew something didn't sit right. So I contacted the number on the announcement and submitted a dispute because from my understanding, I did meet the area of consideration. So now we wait. And y'all already know this process will test your patience, your confidence, and sometimes your sanity. It's crazy. But for now, stay tuned for the results. That update fits today's topic perfectly, though, because history is rarely made by people who stayed comfortable, and breakthroughs rarely happen for people who never challenge what's in front of them. Comfort has a way of making itself look wise. It says things like, just stay where you are. Don't rock the boat. At least it's familiar. At least you know exactly what to expect, right? At least it's secure. And to be fair, sometimes comfort does feel responsible. It sounds practical. It even disguises itself as maturity. But not all comfort is healthy. Sometimes comfort is just fear with a softer voice. Sometimes comfort is procrastination dressed up as patience. Sometimes comfort is self-protection that stayed too long. And sometimes comfort is us avoiding the vulnerability that comes with wanting more. And I think that's what makes it dangerous. Because when something feels comfortable, we don't always question it. No, we don't always realize the cost, but there's a cost. If your comfort zone keeps you from applying, it may be costing you opportunity. If it keeps you from speaking up, it may be costing you access. If your comfort zone keeps you from challenging something that doesn't seem right, it may be costing you a fair shot. If your comfort zone keeps you from being visible, it may be costing you a connection. If it keeps you from trying again, it may be costing you the very future you keep praying for. Let me be real for a minute. This entire season of my life has required me to challenge comfort. There is nothing especially comfortable about putting yourself out there over and over again. There's nothing comfortable about applying for jobs and not knowing what the outcome will be. There's nothing comfortable about receiving a notice that doesn't seem to line up with your understanding. and then deciding to push back instead of quietly accepting it. There's nothing comfortable about building a public platform while you're slap in the middle of a reinvention. There's nothing comfortable about dreaming bigger than the people around you may understand. And there's definitely nothing comfortable about being called to a future that doesn't come with a full blueprint. But I also know this. The life I want is not going to be built by clinging to what feels safe. It's not going to come from shrinking. It's not going to come from hiding. It's not going to come from waiting until I feel perfectly ready. Because ready is often a myth. Sometimes the only way into your next season is to walk into it nervously. That's been true with this whole overseas journey. It's been true with this YouTube channel. It's been true to saying yes to reinvention in this season of my life. And even today, applying for that administrative officer position in Capodichino, Italy. I like saying it. And advocating for myself in response to that Ramstein notice. They were reminders that the future I'm asking for is going to require movement, not perfection, movement. That's the part people don't always talk about. We love the idea of transformation. We love the idea of growth. We love the idea of purpose. But growth almost always asks you to leave something behind. Usually, it asks you to leave behind an old identity, an old routine, an old excuse, an old attachment to being comfortable. Because your future self and your current comfort zone can't always coexist. Sometimes one has to go. And that doesn't mean you become reckless. It doesn't mean you stop using wisdom. It doesn't mean you ignore responsibility. It just means you stop worshiping familiarity. You stop assuming that just because something feels comfortable, it must be right. Because sometimes the most aligned decision will still stretch you. Sometimes the right move will still scare you. Sometimes the next open door won't look like safety at first. It'll look like uncertainty. It'll look like risk. It'll look like growth. And if you're not careful, you'll call it not for me when it's really just unfamiliar. I think that's one of the reasons posting about Women's History Month felt so timely for me today. When you think about the women who made history, the women who challenged systems, the women who kept going in spite of fear, criticism, rejection, or lack of support, they didn't stay in the comfort zone. They couldn't have. Whether they were leading, building, marching, teaching, creating, nurturing, surviving, or speaking up, their impact required courage. And I think that matters for us too. You may not be trying to make world history, but you are trying to make personal history. You're trying to break cycles. You're trying to choose differently. You're trying to build something new. You're trying to become the woman your younger self needed to see. That's important. And that kind of life doesn't come from living small just because small feels comfortable. I think it's worth asking. What has comfort cost me already? Has it cost me visibility? Has it cost me confidence? Has it cost me a relationship, an opportunity, a dream, a version of myself I haven't met yet? Because the truth is, comfort can get expensive. It may not cost you immediately. That's why so many people stay there. The bill comes later. Later looks like regret. Later looks like untapped potential. Later looks like wishing you had gone for it. It looks like realizing you spent years protecting yourself from the very thing that could have changed your life. And I don't want that. I really don't. I don't want to look up one day and realize I let fear make too many decisions for me. I don't want to confuse familiarity with destiny. I don't want to keep calling myself stuck when really I'm being invited to move. This makes me think of Isaiah 43:19. See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I use this verse a lot because it reminds me that God is often doing something new, but we have to be willing to perceive it. And sometimes we can't perceive the new thing because we're too attached to the old thing, too attached to the familiar version of life, too attached to what makes sense, too attached to what we can control. But a new thing usually requires a new level of trust. And that trust may ask you to leave your comfort zone. Not because God wants to make life hard, but because sometimes the promise is bigger than the place you've outgrown. So today I want to encourage you, and probably myself too, pay attention to where your comfort has become a crutch. Pay attention to the places you keep saying, maybe later, when deep down you know it's really fear. Pay attention to the areas where your future is asking for courage. Because the life you want may be sitting on the other side of one uncomfortable decision, one application, one dispute, one conversation, one bold move, one act of faith, one moment of saying, I'm scared, but I'm going anyway. That's what this season is teaching me. Every application I submit, every video I record, every time I choose to show up instead of shrink, I'm reminding myself that I don't want comfort more than I want purpose. I don't want ease more than I want alignment. And I don't want temporary comfort to rob me of a future I've been praying for. So that's day 81, and I'm sitting with this reminder. Your comfort zone may be costing you your future. And maybe the question we all need to sit with tonight is, what future am I delaying because I keep choosing what feels comfortable? Hey friend, if this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who might need the reminder. And if you're in your own season of stretching, growing, and becoming, I'd love for you to stay connected. So subscribe to the channel. And do me a favor and like this video. It helps the channel out. I'm Vanessa, and this is Waves of Change. Thank you so much for being with me today. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.